Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, we're live on a Wednesday, May 21st at 11:42 a.m. And you're looking at the Bitcoin chart pushing basically up past all-time high. Thus far, a little bit of wick action, which is probably the most reasonable expectation. And it's literally tick for tick. Folks started selling at the most previous all-time high, which is basically 109,338. And that literally, we could like zoom in, and it's probably tick for tick. Hey, let's throw a horizontal line so we can just be picky about things. I mean, that's basically tick for tick, right? That's pretty crazy, but that is to be expected. People are capitalists. And they're going, oh, it's never gonna go any higher. It's over. It's done for. It's not going up anymore. But yep, it's probably gonna go up a lot more. So it's an all-time high, technically, and it'll take time to do what these types of charts always do. They'll go up, they'll go down. So, what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the conversation we've had over these years. It doesn't mean anything because there's nothing to do. Serenity tells us, you know, if things are in our control, we do something about them. If things are outside of our control, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do about making this price go up or down. All we can do is make decisions about what to own and what not to own, which is literally everything we've been talking about over the last years. Could we talk about it more? Is there something more we could talk about what to own versus what not to own? I really don't think so at this point. I mean, this is like the day before. Let's say tomorrow, Bitcoin's going to 115, 120, 130. It just goes 10 grand a day. And just a hypothetical, obviously. And today is the day before. Pontificating that we know what tomorrow will bring. But obviously in the future, at some point, that will be the tomorrow. And that's the whole point of preparation. It's kind of like tomorrow is a conference, and you prepare for the conference before the conference. You prepare for Bitcoin to go up before it goes up. You prepare for the dollar to go down before it actually goes down. So are we prepared? Goddamn right we're prepared. There's nothing left to do. And that's exactly what we wanted because we spent the last 3+ years so we don't have to do anything when Bitcoin starts going up and to the right, which drags everything else along with it. I happen to like the most recent pullback in curve. Notice this is on the monthly chart because people who look at shorter charts are doing themselves a disservice and they're driving themselves nutty. So the recent dip to about 63, about 2 days ago, was right to the bottom of the guppies. And if you turn off the guppies and you turn on the MA, nope, not that. And you turn on the MAs, you see that that's the 200. So I think it's guppy season. I think we're going to turn off the SMAs and we're going to turn on the guppies, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's about that time. That was literally a guppy mean regression. And guppies are green on the daily. That's nice to see. It's nice to see a support because on this run, there's a little bit premature or a little too aggressive, maybe. This rally on curve between November of 2024 and December of 2000, about a month, 7th, yeah, 3rd to the 7th. You didn't see any mean regressions to the bottom of the guppies or no significant mean regressions, at least from the daily perspective. So that just means it's a very aggressive chart. Now, if you didn't see anything from the daily, you're surely not going to see anything from the weekly. But from the daily, there's nothing at all. Such a lovely chart. And we are not crazy, so we don't look at Bitcoin on the daily. We look at Bitcoin on stuff like the monthly. So each candle here is a 1 month candle. Gives you a real sense of time and how people think it's a long time, but it's not. It's just a couple of lines on a chart. gives you something really existential to think about as you get older, how quick time really is. So, I mean, everyone was thinking so many things. Meanwhile, the 74,000 dip back in April, which was last month, basically, was a was a previous resistance. I mean, you can't make this up. This was just such a lovely sequence of events, and you see it a little bit better with a little bit more um, shorter time frame, so you have more color on the candles. Then you break out a brush. There's literally a breakout, retest, and now we're literally pushing for that higher high. If it comes, and we've been calling this the trifecta of bullish confluence for years, many, many years. And that's exactly what this is a lovely retest of a previous resistance because it's not just the previous resistance of this entire, you know, congestion zone which occurred in 2024. It's also pretty much where we were in 2021. So I think that's the big takeaway that folks may not really see. 2021 was weird, and in some regard, what you got is something like this. Draw some sort of trend line. So this never really broke out, or maybe this is, and now it's kind of I don't know whatever you want to describe this pattern to be or the structure to be. This is a hell of a level. This let's say between 65 and 75. That is an absolutely remarkable level because it's multi-year confluence. It tells you something about the psychology of people that are involved in these markets from a buying and selling perspective. This is where they wouldn't buy. This is where they wouldn't buy. And this is basically where they wouldn't buy. They blew right past it, and all of a sudden, look at this. I love previous resistance flip support because all of a sudden, where they wouldn't buy, where they wouldn't buy, where they wouldn't buy, where they wouldn't buy, now they're buying. That is a crazy psychological reality. So I got a kick out of that. Where are we with genius? It's 11:30. Where's the Genius Act? What were they doing? What are we doing? 21 hours. Oh, we haven't heard anything yet. I thought they were voting 11:30. Yeah. So this will go forward. I thought maybe there'll be a little bit more commentary 2 hours ago. Oh, from Cynthia. Preserve the dual banking system. What you got to understand is this really going to be like an unlimited open swap line? Because who's going to sell? Who what? So here's the thing: when you need dollars and funding is tight internationally, what the swap lines are opened only conditionally based on Fed policies and it's by friend the friend the friend. You got to know somebody to get into the good old boys club. But if you could just go and buy dollar stable coins in whatever denomination anyone's willing to sell them to you in, and for instance, they handle the back end. So it's like if you're printing or borrowing tether, they're asking for some form of collateral, uh, or they'll facilitate the deposit of that collateral and accept payment in some denomination. And that's the whole point. You have some sort of agreed upon terms, and that's like you walk up to a car wash, they have a menu. What's the menu? We will take this and we will give you this. So all of a sudden, with this Genius Act, there's going to be a lot of menus floating around where a lot of different currencies and different assets are going to be accepted in exchange for dollar products. I mean, it's really the start of potentially wild things because it may. just take the Eurodollar market and just open it up way beyond anything anyone could have ever imagined. Could be like the Eurodollar market combined with a swap line, where it's just like, here, you need dollars, here's dollars. Give us whatever you have. And then that'll cause weird things to happen. That increases the dollar supply. If you increase the dollar supply, what happens to the value of the dollar goes down. Value of the dollar goes down, DXY goes down. And that's going to cause some weird shit. So here's one of the most important things that folks don't fully understand. Global financial system is screwed and we're on the precipice of a crisis. But first, before the crisis, the dollar goes down. But then what's going on in Japan causes things to break. Yen appreciation, yen gets too strong, carry trade unwinds, all of a sudden the US stock market starts to tank, and then things cascade because of sentiment overflow, sentiment bleeds over. So it's all still connected. So you see, we just broke all-time high, and we're already talking about when things start to fall apart. This is investing is all about milestones because for the longest, it seemed like the longest since last year, we're waiting for the dollar to finally break down. And that's exactly what we have. We finally have the red guppies. So we're premature to start talking about the yen blowing up the world. I think there's some months involved in that, and it's still out for debate what's actually going to blow up and if they could intervene or whatever the hell could potentially play out. But things are just starting now. We're finally starting to see the red guppies on the DXY weekly. And that is very nice to see, ladies and gentlemen, because historically, that is when we've had significantly enjoyable um, activity in these crypto markets. Two very obvious regions of enjoyable crypto market activity are very easily highlighted by red guppies. And we are just starting them right now. So it's really as simple as that. Maybe so if what if you waited for red guppies back in like 22? You would have missed Bitcoin bottom at 16. Um, you would have missed crypto bottom, broad, DeFi fintech bottom in November of 2024. The curve was 18 cents and now it's 74 cents. So it's multiples from its bottom, hundreds of percent. So that's probably like the most risk adjusted way to allocate capital if you wait for red guppies. Otherwise, you're trying to chase bottom, which is not a bad thing. But where it goes from here, I think, is what people would call the meat of the move, the majority of the price action. So maybe it's not the worst thing to miss those first couple 100% to finally have confirmation, because the whole thing could just reverse. At least that's what everyone's fear is. People are seeing this and they're like, oh, not that. They're seeing this and they're like, oh, it hit. Okay. They're seeing this and they're like, oh, it's going to hit the ceiling. It's going to stop and reverse. Things don't stop and just reverse. It's not the way it works, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't know. The point is, we're finally at the start of the most interesting period for crypto markets, and folks should not all of a sudden be letting that fear, uncertainty, and doubt creep into their process, their thought process. Stick to the rules, follow the plan, and we all know the rules at this point. Three rules. There's nothing to do. That leaves me sometimes struggling with thoughts to share with you guys. So I'll leave it to you guys. What's in the comments? Fugu, good morning, Cap. Happy breakout. It is a breakout today. Let's go back and see. I wonder if we'll have any short squeezes at this level. I don't really look at funding too much, but I'm inclined to think there's a lot of pressure built up there. Maybe we'll see a pop. I always like to see a pop at a resistance level 109 to 10 115, maybe a 120, and then it crashes to 112, and you're like, oh dear, the horror. So I always like seeing that kind of price activity where both shorts and longs absolutely get slaughtered. That's always fun. And who wins in that scenario? Spot people win because there's no emotion involved in spot. You're just calm, cool, collected, and relaxed. Eunice, all time high. Yes, all time high. Arrow. Nothing stops this train. Patrick, we've been at this for a long time. And Lynn is right in most regards. Nothing does stop this train because in the end, they will finance social civility. They will do what they have to do in order to preserve the status quo. And they will say it the entire time that that's the way the system works. And they will not even hint that the system is broken or perverted or already has failed. The way we talk about like Social Security being a Ponzi scheme, they'll never talk about it like that. They'll say Social Security has changed the retirement experience for, in many regards, that's actually a true statement. Otherwise, you potentially have significant poverty in your 70s, 80s, and 90s. So both things can be true at the same time. It could be the world's most incredible Ponzi scheme while also changing social and well-being for the older generation. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Can only look back at a couple hundred years and judge, and we won't be here to be able to judge that. So, so why judge it or think about it too much? That's where I'm at in my mindset. A lot of people bring up politics in conversation. They bring up talking points, and like I'm sitting in the sauna, a good friend brings up politics, and I'm like, what does it matter? Now, obviously, I know it matters from like an empathy standpoint, a sentimental standpoint, or just a societal standpoint. These types of things matter. But if you have no capacity to influence the outcome, it doesn't really matter. All that matters is what you're in control over. And what we're predominantly in control over is us looking at this data right now and seeing if we can make any decisions to take any action. That's the only thing we could really do. That's the only influence we really have. I don't know. I come back to Serenity a lot nowadays. Let's take a look at Sonic. Arrow wants us to take a look at Sonic real quick. Uh, 26 mil in the week. That's a 5% change week over week. Some nice growth. It's a little stagnant though. 566, 570. So it's stagnant for the last month, going on 2 months, since April 6th. And we're almost at the end of May. So it's stagnant for the last 2 months. That is a growth stagnation. That is not up and to the right. But then again, does it come down? OP mainnet was stagnant between end of September and January, and then it fell over. Arbitrum, likely the same thing. Waiting for it to load. Oh, that just that wasn't really stagnant. I guess I don't know. May to November was stagnant, and then you had a pop and a just Hyperliquid did what it did. But yes, Sonic is stagnant. That is a true statement. But does it roll over? Base is stagnant. 3 bill, 4 bill. It's relatively stagnant. I mean, that is hundreds of millions of dollars worth of inflow since November. So $220 million inflow. That's not a small amount of money. Solana just went absolutely parabolic, but everything's pretty much a little bit stagnant from top, 11, 12. That's a little stagnant, minus almost 4% on the week. See Ethereum. Ethereum's a bit flat, stagnant. You could almost say since 22. So the other markets are microscopic. This is a macro market. This has 121 billion dollars in it. The other markets have peanuts. Just fraction of the size of mainnet. So this, if you want to really say something about crypto, this is where you have to look. So this market is stagnant. In some regards, that's an applicable word since February of 2022, which was previous all-time high. And now we're finally breaching up through it to a fresh all-time high of 124. But this is that period where it's like, does it just continue? And it's frankly with this, with um, the Genius Act, that this is where it's likely to continue after the stagnation, rather than something like optimism where it stagnates and then it rolls over. Why the hell is mainnet going to roll over from here of all places? This isn't where mainnet rolls over. This is where it builds a base and it finds its comfort zone, and then it just goes up and to the right. And you see that pretty much in USDC and USDT, which is literally just up and to the right. This looks like, I don't know what this looks like. This looks like money supply. Oh shit, that's right, because it is money supply. This literally looks like an adjusted M0, or I don't know, M series. Pick your favorite M series. And this is the growth of money supply in good part in these crypto markets, 151, $152 billion. If you take a look at total, there's 244 billion total across all stable coins. There's a lot of stable coins at this point. DAI still holding on to 3.5. That's crazy. How much DAI versus, wow, 4.5 versus 3.5, DAI versus USDS. Not so easy to rebrand a product like that. PayPal at almost a billion, 202 mil on Frax. CRV coming in at 155, number 32. A lot of stable coins. Look at these, hundreds of millions of dollars. Some of this stuff, I don't even know. What the hell is an open Eden T-bill? But apparently there's $185 million of it. That's a lot. I don't know a lot of this stuff. Look at this, M by M0, 230 mil. This I know. Resolve, USDR, Avalon. I don't really know that. It's 305 million. What the hell is Falcon? 370 million. Never heard of this. 429 million. I know this. I know this. I know this. FD, First Digital, 1.24 billion. We know what Athena is, but those aren't really dollars. It's like dollar. I don't know. It's not. It's not the same thing as a stable coin. But what's the FDUSD? We're coming in at 1.24 billion. I don't know. Is there any interest paid for them to continue to exist? That's all I want to know, if you know what I mean. Athletic Concept, hello, Cap. Sergio, present. Dantes, hey, Cap. Haven't seen the new Google. Have I seen the new Google VO3 model? I genuinely cannot tell which videos will be real anymore. I think it's over, of course. What's over? It's over. Yes, it's always over. What does any of it matter anymore? You won't be able to tell real versus fake. You can't even tell real versus fake money anymore. Dollar deposits are indistinguishable from actual dollars. What are dollars? What is currency? What is money? What is work? What, what is it? Not we work because we get compensated, but what is it conceptually? What are we doing? We're being productive. Productive for who? Productive for a society, a company, a person? I don't know. All this stuff is changing so quickly, especially with AI and robotics. Now, I don't have the answers. I just am a guy that spits a lot of words that either causes people to think, or at minimum causes myself to think. That's all I am. New Google VO3 and Tesla Optimus has me thinking more deeply about the future of work. You know what? That's funny. Yeah, I didn't see what you wrote before I said what I just said. The future of work, possible investments being the primary means of income in the future. Okay, so I don't know where this is heading. What is work where you could spend 20, $30,000 and you have a permanent 24/7 employee that doesn't get tired and just mops the floors and stocks the shelves and drives the trucks 24/7. What's work in that kind of world? So a lot of these things are going to be redefined in the coming years. I look forward them to being redefined, and that's okay. And we don't have to know how they're going to be redefined, but the fact is things will change. A lot of folks are afraid of change. I've always been eager to see change because I'm always tired of the status quo. Things I look forward to things changing how they may. And I would encourage folks to not be afraid. Just as we are with investing, don't be afraid of change. And we've surely seen a change in the investment landscape over the last decade, let's say, to such a degree that like post 2019, I was figuring things out. But at this point, like post 22, this is the investment landscape that is the most comfortable place to be with capital. And that's a big change. That's a significant change in the system, just as you're thinking of how the system's going to change with regard to work. So things will significantly change and continue to change from here. Can you please also give your thoughts on CVX? Probably identical to Curve. Yeah, I mean, it's identical to Curve. It's literally identical to Curve. Identical. From my cousin Vinny. Identical. There's no difference. Um, I mean, you're pushing above the guppies, and this is the first time you're pushing above the guppies in a meaningful way since November of 24, and that's on the weekly. There we go to the monthly, nothing constructive. Daily, drive you nuts. Go back to the weekly, that's the best perspective. All right, so what you want to see is exactly what we have here, because if you turn off the price, you turn off the noise, and you turn off the guppies, and you put on like an SMA. Look at the higher low on the 10. Okay, so that seems like confluence suggesting up from here. And that's what everyone wants to see. Everyone wants to see up from here. And then we want to see where the next higher low is structurally. This is going to be an exciting period of time, guys. We've waited a long time for stuff like this. Like, look, it finally, I don't know. You know, it's a completely uncharted territory because, really, yeah, yeah. Uncharted territory because these market taps are so microscopic in the grand scheme of things. $284 million. These are pink sheets, ladies and gentlemen. These are microscopic. Microscopic. I don't even have words for how microscopic they are. What's curve sitting at? A bill, a flat bill. All right, that'd be pretty cool at 100 bill. Ave at 100 bill. You what, a 30x? Curve at 100 bill would be 100x. Uh, Not 100 bill. Yeah, or even convex at a bill would be a 5x from where it is right now. But at 100 bill, it'd be a 500x. I don't know. My general sentiment is the whole marketplace gets repriced. These assets are not priced where they feel like they should be based on their significance with regard to financial functionality, actual products and services that they offer, fintech products and services. Expect big repricing. I don't know what the repricing will be, and I throw around numbers sometimes, and I don't really I don't really believe them because I believe it's better to underpromise and overdeliver. It's general engineering thing that we all should do. But that's the same thing with regard to expectations. You should set your expectations low. And if you're expecting like, oh, curve's going to be $100 billion and go 100x on the money, and that's your expectation, and you don't meet your expectation, you're going to be disappointed. That's not something you want to be. Nobody wants to be disappointed, which is why we prepared. The expectation is nothing more than today. Because what is today? Today's Wednesday. And we all get the vote by 7, 8 p.m. And we get some payouts after 8 p.m. and all the contracts click over. And then Curves does a payout tomorrow at 5 p.m. And that's it. There's nothing else. Everything else we just get to sit back, kick our feet up, and watch. Locus of control. Sure, not a loss of control. Things are in control. I think things are in control for now. But man, it's pretty scary. Uh, let's turn back on the price chart. It's really Japan that probably has me the most like weary. Because if the dollar starts like this is a topping pattern here. Like this starts rolling over, and the first thing that happens is, yeah, sure, crypto assets do what they do. But then things start to break as US equities start to roll over. And that's exactly why everyone says everything's going to break, but they're early and they're forgetting what happens first before things break. Things get parabolic. That's just part of the part of the market where we're at right now. You made me realize so much, Cap. When folks talk about stocks, I really can't justify buying Netflix, Peloton, and even health companies, tech. Nothing is bigger than these businesses we deal with in crypto. I mean, what are you buying when you're buying Netflix? You're basically financing them making a movie. What are they giving you? They're not giving you anything. If other people buy Netflix, they're giving you something. That's called a meme coin. Unless Netflix is giving you something, it's a meme coin. That's all it is, and that's what all of it is. Unless, I mean, fine, like you got nice REITs, realty income. I think it's at 5.5%, which is at least above risk-free rate of return. But if I can't get paid, then why would I invest? So why would I don't if I don't want to invest at 5.5%, I want to invest at a much higher rate of return because that's what I want. I don't want appreciation or whatever other bullshit expectations some company slash project slash protocol slash business is trying to sell in idea form. No, I want cash flow. So unless they're paying significantly over the risk-free rate of return, fuck it, it's dead to me. Because there is things out there, and it just maybe it's the biggest coincidence that the things that are paying the most over the risk-free rate of return are in crypto markets, and those are the most opportunity because they are the smallest market cap as far as the eye can see. 200 mil to a bill and maybe a couple bill if you're lucky on the bigger projects. Are they? It's gonna be weird when these things reprice. We did a calculation a bit ago that where Aave is among the top banks in the United States with regard to the amount of deposits they have. And I find that fascinating. Go to Aave. They have $38 billion in deposits. Now, if you run it through AI and say, based on by deposits, where does 38 billion rank among the top banks of the United States? Aave would be among the top banks in the United States. Yet its market cap is what? Less than $4 billion market cap for a bank that's one of the top banks in the United States. I mean, literally. How about this? Price to NAV. Its price is 3.8 billion, or its market cap to NAV, and its net assets, all the assets it owns, or total deposits is 38 billion. What the hell? So that's significantly underpriced by almost any measure conceivable. And the reason I bring up Avi is because it's a bank. If it walks like a bank and talks like a bank, it is a bank. So the point is, it's the most straightforward business in all of crypto. And then you come to the more sophisticated businesses like foreign exchange credit derivatives, albeit, Aave is obviously a money market, which has credit with Go and has credit with its overall product, but it's a different presentation. It's more of a traditional banking type of presentation, in my opinion, as compared to, you know, not competing, other protocols, other businesses. Um, it's just the most straightforward and easy to understand product in all of crypto. And how many times was it forked? Oh my God. How many times were all of these things forked? How many times was Curve forked? How many times was Compound forked? And it's all gone. All of it's gone. And what's remaining? $4 billion in Aave. That's what's remaining. $1 billion market cap on Curve. That's what's remaining. Everything else is gone, dead, history. And this is the stuff that has the lendiness that has been tried, tested, and approved by consensus to continue to exist. Let's go back here. So maybe it hovers here, whatever it does. Nothing changes if it goes up. Nothing changes. That's the biggest takeaway. And I'm probably going to end the stream in a couple minutes. And I want to leave you guys with the most important words of wisdom as we're looking at Bitcoin potentially going up significantly. There's nothing to do. And if there's something to do, you probably should have done it already. Because when things are volatile and they're moving really quick and they're like, crashing down, you shouldn't be doing anything. The same goes if it's going up. You shouldn't be doing anything when it's volatile. You want to be doing things when everything is calm, quiet. And that is about to be, not right now. It's just wild how right at the top we are. Let's see what happens. John is earning 60% APR holding Aerodrome. Why in the world would anyone hold Ford or IBM for 5% anymore? Because they don't know any better. What happens to the traditional corporate world when people realize that they won't? Why do people hold bonds? Why do people hold REITs? Why do people still invest in real estate? Because one, you need to diversify. Diversification is a meaningful thing, and people want to own homes. So they own them, and it's not an investment, but it is an investment. You live in it, so it kind of serves dual purpose. Other people don't understand, so they're like, "Oh, I got to own a company." And what is a company? A company employs people. And then I come along and I'm like, I want to own a company. I want to own a company that employs no people, not a single person. Because what's his name? Happy in Iron Man 2 said he had to fix human resources. And the first thing he had to do to fix human resources was to get rid of the humans. And all these years later, he was proven correct. And now we're dealing with AI and robotics and fintech, financial technology companies that have no people, that offer financial products and services that require no underwriting, that have no humans involved in the process. That's great. And that's not going to be priced what it's priced at in the future. These will be big corporate level prices or prices comparable to the big businesses because they are big businesses. They're just not appreciated as big businesses yet. Get it? Appreciated because appreciation, price appreciates, but also people appreciate things. And that makes sense because if people appreciate something, they're going to cause price appreciation for that thing they are appreciating. Words are a funny thing. And in English, the English language. What happens to the traditional corporate world when people realize that? They won't. It's a good point because people are dogmatic, people are tribal, people are stubborn, people are ignorant, people are myopic, short sighted, closed minded, small minded, can't think outside the box, and most importantly, people have fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Therefore, the minority by any measure, are the ones that currently own these pink sheet mega corporations of the future that have no employees, no debt, no operating expenses, and all they do is produce pure revenue. And they're obligated by software to distribute that revenue. That you see, folks got to understand the deterministic nature of software to distribute revenue is better than any contract that you could ever have written by an attorney, a lawyer, anyone, because people lie, cheat, and steal, and they embezzle funds, white collar crime. But when you have software that is responsible for the management, the distribution, the routing of capital, the software is going to execute deterministically. It's a powerful word, determinism. And that's what changes everything, especially when you're deterministically distributing capital from a fee distributor contract that probably inherently possesses characteristics of nominee interest, which is another story that kind of got lost in the weeds, but folks kind of forgot about that story. That's kind of a meaningful story if folks can appreciate it. But folks need to understand it at first to appreciate it. What is a historical equivalent of this ongoing crypto repricing of what, industrial revolution? 1900s, late 1800s? Some sort of new, I don't know, because you didn't have stocks back then. And you didn't have stocks the way you did back in the 1920s, roaring 20s. I guess, I don't know. I'm not too much of a historian to know of a comparable period, but this is a broad swath of businesses that most people don't frickin' understand, the general public, but it just so happens literally the politicians understand it, and the politicians have adopted it as like the saving grace of the financial system because have we not been listening to the headlines? I don't even have them anymore, but I mean, these headlines are the headlines regarding that bill. It's like some few in the general public get it. The majority have no idea what's going on. They're sleepwalking, and the politicians get it. So there's nothing really comparable to what's going on. And you, all of you folks that are listening to these words, are an ultra minority of a minority that are even potentially considering the grand scale and scope of what is about to play out. And by about to, I'm defining a time period, probably over the next couple years. And that's a pretty short time period, a few short years. Because what happened in 2020, it's not going to happen again. It's always different. History rhymes, it doesn't repeat. So it's not going to be 2020, but 2020 proved. So it gave us the ultimate tip of the hand, the ultimate proof that everything that we're looking at is extraordinary. Because what survived in 22 compared to what survived in 2019 is not even remotely comparable. It's a different world because there's an economy now. monetary velocity, and there's credit, and there's liabilities, and there's everything. Derivatives as far as the eye can see, which is all the characteristics of a financial economy. All right, I'm sure I'll be posting a bit more on X as interesting things play out with the Genius Act. And let's see if Bitcoin rips to 115 today, because that would be lovely to see. Meanwhile, gold is looking pretty lovely as well, up at 3,300. That's crazy. Curve pushing back towards 75 cents. When we finally break this 10 SMA on the monthly or this 200 on the weekly, that's going to be very exciting. Have no doubt we'll be posting about stuff like that. Look at Frax too. Frax right into the 100 on the weekly. If anything, this is a heck of a what, a W bottom, a double bottom, whatever the hell you want to call it. I happen to love this position. One of my earliest positions, a purchase, not a position. And if anything's going to benefit from the Genius Act, it's this. It's a lovely product. Anywho, thank you all for joining me. Let's wrap it up for today. Wednesday, May 21st at 12:28 p.m. 142 people made it to the end of the stream and are now all that much more rational because of it. I wish you all a wonderful day. Stay cool, calm, and collected, and let's see all this craziness play out. But serenity. Don't go crazy over this shit because you probably should have done it already. And if you haven't done it already, you can't get crazy over it right now. You got to stay cool and calm, make good, smart, slow, methodical decisions. See you later this week. Until then, peace.